Hey there, this is the Penny on Your Thoughts podcast, and I am your host, Penny Chason. I'm a board-certified hypnotist, intuitive, and experiencer. This podcast is about tapping into your subconscious to create a more aligned and abundant life. By leveraging our subconscious, we can master our thoughts, frequency, and vibration. Fusing the conscious, subconscious, and our consciousness is the science of expansion and soul satisfaction. Each week, I'll share in-depth interviews or solo episodes. This podcast was created to share how you have the power to create infinite potential within you. It's my intention that you find this podcast empowering, inspiring, and full of possibility. Now grab your favorite beverage and let's go. I'm really excited for the conversation that is going to be had today. You know how much I love to speak about authenticity and how true authenticity is that essence of who we are deep underneath all the layers of programming, the stories, the beliefs, the family traditions, the society traditions, the things that we're told that we should expect, want, and have out of life. Today with me, I have Teal Shoop, who's a transformational coach, but before that, she was in corporate. At the age of 30, on a daily basis, she was becoming physically ill because of the intense pressures that she was under until finally she hit that moment where she said no more. And we get into all of that. And from there, her real journey began into who she was. She's had a business already. And as she leaned more into that business, she found herself repeating the same patterns. But then there was a catalyst for really going within and peeling back all of these layers. And that was becoming pregnant with her daughter. We dig into the highs and the lows, the moments of depression and the moments of knowing that everything is going right and what it takes to stay in that place and how that is the journey. So I want you to welcome with me today, Teal Shoop, transformational coach. Grab your beverage, settle in, and just enjoy this conversation. There is something in it for everyone. You know, Teal, it's really great to connect today. And, I've introduced you a little bit already. One of the things when, we were exploring what to talk about on the podcast, one of the things that really stood out to me, we're probably going to be going a little bit backwards here, is that your current path, where you are right now in your life, it was all triggered by knowing that you were becoming a mom. Mm-hmm. What was it about becoming a mom, knowing that you have this tiny human growing inside of you and that you have this whole future in front of you? What was it about that gave you pause and to take inventory of where you were in life? Because I think this is really just going to hit for so many people.
Yeah, I think it was this powerful realization that I've been responsible for myself my entire life, but this beautiful soul is coming and I'm responsible for her. And for a good part of my life, we've all had our struggles, right? We've all had our pain and our challenges. And what I've carried with me through my life and I'm working on healing, I don't want to pass on to her. Because even when I was realizing, oh, for the first time I'm pregnant, and then I'm planning for this child and already feeling this intense love of just what I wish for her, for a beautiful life, to have tools, to have awareness of a different path from what I was even raised with. And my upbringing was by no means bad. And I'm certainly not, was not harmed or mistreated or anything like that. I had beautiful, loving parents, but it was just there are stories about money or self-worth or what life can and can't look like. And I'm like, man, I've made choices based on those beliefs that are really didn't serve me. And sure, I've learned my lessons from them, but
Yeah.
I don't want to share that with her. I want her to have that better path. And I mean, it was the 2 by 4 to the head of just then, well, what does that look like? It's not just enough for me to say these things. I got to show her this because she's just looking at me then and saying, gosh, mom, what's mom doing? And she mirrors everything. So it's like, this isn't just me, the words out of my mouth. This is me walking that walk every day. What do I have to do to walk that walk? You know?
Yeah. I think that the key thing, that you mentioned there was that you had the realization that you had been making choices,
Mm,
decisions, possibly even I would love for you to expand on this if this was the case,
mm,
deciding what it is that's supposed to make you happy
mm,
based on the people around you when you
mhm.
when you grew up, because we all have this.
Yeah.
I was told when I was a little girl, it's like you have to study, you have to get good grades so you can go to college, because my mother did not want me to feel the challenges that she had. And from her perspective and point of view, college and a career was the way to do that. And I think so many people are unaware
Mm,
that they've been influenced in this way. So many times we think we're making choices and decisions based on, I don't know, our own paradigm. And we don't even realize until much later for some of us that this wasn't even what I wanted. I just bought
ah,
into the
yeah.
belief
Mhm.
that this is what happiness looks like.
Yeah, 100%. And looking back, I see so much of that now in so many facets. And I mean, one of the huge ones for me that was like really a major realization about that 2 years ago or so when I was realizing becoming a mom was this story that when I make mistakes, I hurt people. So,
Oh,
Teal, you're
wow.
not allowed to make mistakes.
Wow.
And that was like, whoa. And I could see that playing out in my life even from when I was a little kid and looking at like, okay, for example, like I got well, 6th grade, I guess. I got braces. Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing was, all right, every month or however often you go into the orthodontist office, they do all the things. And if you hadn't broken a bracket, you would get a ticket entered in for a raffle for like $60 off your bill. Now, family not wealthy. And I'm thinking
Right.
60 bucks. Amazing. I will help my parents out by making sure I don't break anything. Now, I remember then I got hit in the face with a basketball. Like I was sitting on the bleachers one day in like recess and an errant basketball, boom, side of the face, broken bracket. Devastated. I've lost my parents' money. I made a mistake. This is my fault. Now my parents are going to have to pay more. This is money that they're, saving. Dad's not able to buy a new truck because they're paying for my braces. That's just one example. And I've seen that repeat throughout my life.
And that is such an innocent thing.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you're thinking, "Oh, that's crazy," I want to share with you that
Mm,
it's not. I've done thousands of hours of sessions with clients, root cause work,
mhm,
not reading a hypnosis script, but really going in to see where the seed was planted. And it's these innocent moments where we make this misperception and it
yeah.
sticks like glue
Yeah.
because we're open to that. So what I heard you say was that you became a little bit of a people pleaser and a fixer.
Hmm. And a super perfectionist and
Ah,
always achieving, like straight A's, top of my class, got every scholarship, did everything, grew up in a small town, the perfect kid of the town, like on and on and on over, constantly top of everything in my jobs in my corporate, one of the youngest professional project managers handing, I mean, $100 million international projects, and I'm 30 years old for,
yeah. How
stuff
fast?
like that. And it's just like, seeing the stories that push that, and then what is the pressure that came with that, and then the jobs I chose because of that, that if I can please people, where am I left? Stuck,
Yeah.
unhappy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when we please others, we're not tuned into who we are.
Mm-mm, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nothing that you have said there surprises me, right? It's just something so simple can
Hmm.
influence who and what we are. And I don't know about you, but this is something that used to play a huge role in my life. I too grew up in a small town.
Hmm.
And the icing on that cake was my mother was a hairdresser.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
all of the local town gossip, you
Hmm.
couldn't sneeze and
Yeah.
she didn't know about it. And
Hmm.
I was expected to present myself in a certain way
Hmm.
because it was a reflection on her and her business. And I was literally taught that what other people thought mattered
Yeah.
more than what made me happy. And again, as you said, not in a negative way.
Right.
It was all with good intention.
Yeah. Hmm.
And, as women, we get this extra layer here to
Hmm.
peel because at our core, we are maternal and we are the caretakers to some extent. That doesn't mean men don't caretake.
Hmm.
My husband and I were partners as parents,
Yeah.
but it's only been in the last 10 to 15 years, from my perspective, I'm over 50 now, that we're really beginning to get a look of what it means
Yeah.
for a woman in her own right to be successful
For sure.
without having to carry um, the household. So,
Yeah.
when you were in corporate,
Mm.
how close were you to burnout?
Oh, I hit it and blew by.
You hit it and
Yeah.
blew by.
Yeah. For sure. Probably for the last year or so of corporate, I'd throw up every morning before I went to work,
Yeah.
crying in the bathroom, at lunch, like just barely holding it together, barely. And yeah, it it
So I have
it
a
was awful.
question. I never worked corporate. I
Yeah.
worked anesthesia, but
Yeah.
how normal, and listen to me say normal. That is not normal.
That is not normal,
But how much
but
of that
common.
how
Yeah.
much of that is expected that you just suck it up and deal with it and get on to the next meeting?
It sure felt like that to me. I mean, it sure felt like that to me, and I imagine there's variation from where you work from one place to another, and especially I'm by training, I'm a mechanical engineer, was my all of my education. So, with multiple degrees and a male-dominated field, and more often than not, I'm the sole female. And if there was another woman that came in maybe a leadership position, she often had the nickname Ice Queen because she was so, had to be unmoved and no emotion and don't show and no nurturing and no giving and no, cutting corners or softness,
Yeah.
and I saw that over and over. And so, I mean, speaking just from, my experience, I feel like it was extremely common. And then I realized actually then, okay, how bad it actually was when then I'm seeing men breaking down in these situations too, and it's getting past the societal masculine facade and the cracks are coming, and I'm like, okay, it's not just me. Yeah.
Yeah. So was there a key moment that you were like, "That's it. I'm done. I'm out."
I remember it. I remember one of my colleagues in the cubicle next door, and I remember walking in, I think it was in a morning and mid-morning, and what was it that set me off? Something. Oh, I remember. It was a phone call. So as a project manager, you're in charge of these projects, and basically life is on the line for these things to sink or swim. And you're blamed for everything. You're praised for 10%, but it's your career and your responsibility. And I got this phone call from a stakeholder reaming me left and right about, you're trying to make this thing fail and your heart's not in it. And I don't believe in you and all this stuff. And I remember crying on the phone, and it was just like, how dare you? How effing dare you? What gives you the right, you know? And I hung up then after that call, and I went into my colleague's office, and I was just like, I can't take it anymore. I cannot do it anymore. And I'm crying in front of all my colleagues who, it's an open workspace with cubicles. They all heard that phone call.
Yeah.
Mortifying, mortifying, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just, then I went home that night and I talked to my husband, and it was just like, this is what happened. I just can't. And blessed with such a supportive angel of a man in my life. He's like, no problem. Pull plug. Let's go. Next. But yeah.
Wow. Understand that level of frustration. Definitely not the same situation. It's different, I think, when you have your very character
Hmm.
called into question.
Yeah.
You said that was what, around 2017?
2017, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So where did you go from there? Because you had the
Yeah, I did. I
Sterling
had,
Essentials.
yep. I started, so horse girl. Not actively in horses at the moment, just by choice, where my values are at the moment and what I'm doing with my life. But started a company a little bit before that, thinking that maybe this is where I would like to go someday after corporate. Hadn't intended to pull the ripcord quite so soon, but it was basically a leather care and all natural product line for horses. And I actually just sold it this year, which was super exciting. So thrilled about that, because then there's a new chapter coming. But I started that, and it fits so great into my engineering background and material science and chemistry and all this stuff. And it was to nurture my horse, because it would break out in hives from a lot of the products out there, right? So it was just this natural fit. And so I got into that, and it was really fulfilling for a while, until I realized, though, I was still kind of repeating life again with these stories of people pleasing and hustling and trying to do all the things. And look, here comes burnout again. Look at that. Surprise,
Yeah.
surprise.
How did you become aware that what you were doing was people pleasing and
That's a really good
perfectionism?
question. Yeah, I think I started a journey in 2020 with a really amazing mentor. And that enlightened me to so many things going on with my emotions, and getting in touch with what I was feeling, and recognizing when I was feeling bad about my life, bad about myself, getting into a bullying talk of, you're not doing this right or good enough, or all those things. Digging into that awareness showed me, why am I having this conversation? It's because I've done something that I didn't want to do. I did something because I thought it was the right thing, or it makes someone happy, or it's the rules. And I didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. And then here came all those emotions to show me that that didn't feel good. Yeah, it didn't feel good.
How did it feel when you came to that realization? Because ultimately we do make our own choices.
Hmm.
Yeah. How did your relationship with yourself
Mm.
shift at that point?
Yeah, to be honest, I think, you know what, Penny, honestly, I think it felt a little scary. You know, looking back, I think it felt really intimidating, because I didn't know another way. Stepping into what does Teal want to do? What does Teal think about this? Teal not just parroting someone else's thoughts. Well, crap, what do I think? I don't know. Who am I under this shell I've been putting on? And then it was like, oh, but now I'm curious. Now I want to know. I want to re-meet myself. And it was this exciting realization of, well, I'm still me under all of this. It's not like it's been cut off or thrown away or, anything like that. Everything's still here. It's just like scrape off the shellac and take a look, the masterpiece we are. And it's just really grubby. And we need to do a little restoration to see the cool paint colors underneath. And then I was like, I'm excited. I'm excited to meet myself because I was remembering then back to some memories of the kid. And I'm like, wow, I think I was actually a cool person once. And let's find her again.
I love that. I love that. And, have true recognition that for some people out there, they don't have that memory.
Yeah.
But my goodness, when you can tap into that energy
Yeah.
and you realize that you've always been in there, like you say, it's
Mhm.
just a little tarnish, a little grub, need to clean it off, let it sparkle and shine and come back again. Sometimes I hear people say that they need to tear the wall down
Mm.
to let the light in.
Mhm.
But I challenge that.
Yes, I do too.
We have to tear the wall down or clean off the tarnish or the grub to
Mhm.
let our light out.
Yeah.
We are never, ever disconnected from that.
Yeah.
It's our identity that we've taken on through the stories, the beliefs, the values, the circumstances, the things
Mhm.
we make these things mean
Yeah.
that creates this feeling of a disconnect because we're not tuned into it.
Mhm.
So where did you go from there? Like how did you begin to take care of the grub, the tarnish, and and,
Yeah.
and realign? I just love that. It has an image. I live on a farm. There's lots of rusty old things
Right?
on a farm. So
Totally.
I totally dig that. And patina, a little
Patina.
lovely
There you go. Yeah.
patina is
Uh-huh.
great. So
Mhm.
it's all our perspective
Yes.
and how we look at it. But I already know without asking, but I want you to share from your perspective.
Mm.
How did you begin to reprogram in
Mhm.
this sense of worth, this sense of self love,
Yeah.
and lean into that authenticity?
Yeah. Huge tool. And like I said, you got the answer already, but it's true. I've used hypnosis. I've used hypnosis. I worked even with a wonderful hypnotist for a number of months before my daughter came, even, which was so supportive to put me in even more peace and connect me with myself and my worth and my confidence and all that was going to be coming into my life and unfolding. But doing self hypnosis was just amazing. And then just looking so hard and under the microscope at my self-talk throughout the day of just, Teal, how are you moving through this day? It's all fine and good to sit and do my self-hypnosis a few times a day. That is wonderful. But it was seeing that it's even more than that for me, um, to bring that into my day because I'd still have all this other trash talk in my head or seeing other patterns of, oh, someone might get mad at me if I don't fill this order or respond to this email by 10 o'clock tonight. Like fear, they're going to hate me. They're going to hurt me. Something bad's going to happen. And I'm like, wait a minute, time out. Let's change this narrative. What can I say to myself to get myself out of this place of like fear, which is ultimately what people pleasing is.
Yeah.
It's this fear, and fear is an illusion anyway. to get me into that peace and that self-love of like, no, everything's fine. I'm doing great. I'm going to be me. What feels good to me? And so it's just for me, this loving awareness constantly through my day of what am I hearing? What am I saying? What am I placing my attention on so that I feel that goodness in here?
Yes.
Yes, and pay attention to then the signals of my body because my body was always an incredible signaler to me. Gonna go throw up. Something's wrong. Well, Teal's gonna throw up. Big signal. If I'm out of alignment or I'm getting away from my patina, my light, that shortness of breath, that constriction in my chest, the prickly hands. And so it's been a journey over these years of just how am I connecting these sensations to what's going on here
Yeah.
and then changing that.
I've definitely been challenged on my message
Mm,
that unless we are literally being chased by a bear, a tiger, or
mm,
we are actually in a truly imminent life threatening situation, fear all comes from our thinking.
mhm.
Period. End of discussion. And
Correct.
I get a lot of pushback on that.
I can see
I
that.
do. I get told I'm
Mhm,
spiritually bypassing,
mm,
but it doesn't mean I don't ever feel fear
yeah,
over things. Sometimes just out of the blue, like an email will roll into the email box and I see the subject line and it's like my gut immediately goes, oh,
yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like you haven't even opened the email. What's going on in this little mind that you're thinking that
Mhm,
there's going to be something not good
yeah,
in there. So we can never totally shut those things off. But I love that you shared that awareness. What was it that allowed you to come to that place? Because I know for me, it took a lot of work. It took a lot of
mhm,
peeling of the stories. It took
yeah,
facing myself. And when I woke up and I was feeling anything less than at peace, it's like, okay, what is going on here? Because my
yeah,
world, yes, the world outside, there are things going, but those things do not directly impact me. So,
mm,
what's going on here in this little mind of mine?
yeah,
So, what did it look like to work through to that point?
yeah. I mean, if I'm honest about that, I mean, I had kind of a holy crap moment. Funny. Everything kind of recently stems around 2 years ago with kind of becoming a mom. I mean, it's such a momentous event. It's no wonder that then so much bubbles up to the surface, right? I mean, it's no wonder. But, with all of my stories, I've had times where I've been depressed, and even before Marina came, I was having times when I was suicidal feelings, right? And, for some people, that's the word with a big S, and it freaks them out, and again, in that time, it was, wow, I'm in so much pain. What do I wanna do about that? And it was so sobering, um, and to then say, "Well, there's choices. Life is choice. You always have a choice, Teal. What are you gonna do?" And my choice was to get rid of that pain by living, and to do that, it meant seeing that my anger, my people pleasing, my worry, my anxiety was coming from fear and the fear of being, not accepted, fear of bad things happening, fear of mistakes, and on and on and on, fear with money or lack, or how will I provide for my family if I can't do as much because I'm a mom now? All those stories and so much of that, especially as women with this story of, well, you got to be the mom now. That's your contribution. And it is, and it's beautiful. But it was this fear then that I would have to ignore the rest of myself too and leave her behind in order to become a mom. And that felt terrifying to me because I felt I have still so much to give. And it was seeing that this is just chatter. And it took a lot to work through that. And I mean, I still am, and I'm gonna be working through that until I leave the planet. This is our journey. But it was those little whispers. And okay, maybe, I mean, right, I am spiritually minded, and to me, this all came then, through, for example, me with dream time, or I reach out to, some people call them spirit guides, like I reach out to them, I call them my luminous ones. I reach out to my higher self to deepen those connections and ask for wisdom and guidance. What am I not seeing here that I need to see? And the message was just, Teal, you're in fear. Everything you're feeling, Teal, you're in fear. And that fear doesn't really exist because our universe is love. And it brought me to tears, Penny. It brought me to tears.
I can feel it, right? And we do have moments. You and I um both have had the same coach,
Hmm.
and through him we connected with a shaman. And he talks about being at peace.
Hmm.
And when you can get in that moment where you feel that bliss and
Yeah.
you feel that peace, it's as if time stands still.
Yes.
it,
Yes.
it, it really is. And then when we get into that fear, it's we put all this meaning
Hmm.
on it, and to be able to peel that back makes all the difference in the world. Now,
Yeah.
how did you decide what it was going to look like, your identity, if you will?
Mm.
How did you decide what it looked like to be able to be that mother and to
Mm.
create that difference for Marina and not leave yourself behind at the same time?
I think there were sort of two words that came up for me to hold as part of my identity. One was fun, and the other was space. And to me, that meant if I'm not having fun, then I'm probably not in joy and I'm probably not in peace. So if I can look at things as an adventure and fun, I'm going to find my way. And I'm going to find my way of having fun with Marina and also fun with myself. And as I'm doing that, this is where the space part came in. And I'm doing that, I'm going to hold space for myself to just say, I don't know what it looks like right now. And I'm okay with that because before, it always had to be defined. I've always had to plan it out and have the roadmap and have every detail and say, it looks like this and this is what I'm going to do. And it's just like, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. So here's the space to say, okay, Marina's teething. Well, are the two tasks that are important to me today still doable around what I need to do in my heart to nurture? Can I get help? Can I make another choice? And even if maybe some of those other support systems aren't there so that I can do all the things, can I say, that's fine. That's okay. We're not going to get bent out of shape about this and lose my peace. Because how the heck is that going to help me if I'm spooling up into frustration and anger, which then Marina feels and spools right up with me? So it was this realization of there's still both, but they're not always like right together. Maybe there's a little bit of mom going on, and then, oh, the mom part simmers down. And oh, there's a little bit of some other Teal's identity part, and oh, that simmers down. Oh, and then we got a little more mom, and then it's a harmonious flow. And doggone it, Penny, that's been hard for me to learn, and I'm still learning. I mean, she's not even 2 yet. Gosh, there's a lot of road in front of me with it. But that's the intent, and so far, most times it works.
Yeah. You know, that's so beautiful. And what I really want to recapitulate for everyone is that it is that flow.
Mhm.
And when we're not attached to the how,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
can simply have our intention to be focused on the most important thing, we can have that flow. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs.
Mhm,
And when I work with entrepreneurs who tend to be at that lower multi six figures, and there's this strong desire to hold on to the
mm,
spirituality, but they also want the successful business. In
mhm.
their identity, they want to address the spirituality and just have the business be a thing. And I'm like, no, you have to marry these
Yeah.
identities, because if you truly want a successful business and you're about to launch something, we'll talk about that in a moment because
Mm.
I'm really excited for it. I know it's absolutely going to be amazing. There are times where we do have to be a little more heavy into the action taking,
Mhm.
and then there are times where we have all of that space, because there are moments where we get to sprint in business,
Mhm.
especially
Yeah.
if we're going to live in alignment with sharing the gift that we've been given, that we're here to
Yeah.
share with the world. Because if we play small and we use our spiritual practices as a way to avoid doing the work,
Yeah.
then we're actually denying people our gift, and it's a fine line.
Mhm.
And this is not something, you can speak to this as well, this is not something that someone can tell us where that line is. We have to be honest with ourselves, and then we have to have grace with ourselves if we lean a little too far one way or the other. Say, okay, well, here, this is what we need to do, more intention
Mhm.
in this direction. So you had mentioned earlier that when you were pregnant with Marina, right?
Mhm. Yep.
When you were pregnant with her, like all of this shifted,
Yeah.
and it's been about peeling these layers for yourself, being a wonderful mom for her, shifting and changing things, but also having space for yourself.
Mhm.
And you mentioned that creating this new thing that you have, it was really inspired
Mhm.
by her. So everything that we've talked about, what is the fruit of this journey that you're bringing forth?
Yeah. Well, I think it's, yeah, been a long time coming, sort of bubbling in the background, even if I didn't realize it was there. And, the new journey for me now has been to step into being a coach for women, because I know so many women relate to my journey. And so many maybe don't even talk about it or share about it, that how deep their feelings go with the things that we carry, the things we deal with. And like I was talking about a little bit before, uh, I don't want Marina to have my suffering. Now, that sounds so, in a way, grandiose, because she's going to have her journey. She's going to do her thing. Doesn't really matter what I do. She's got her path. I can just offer some things to her. And what I realized is the things that I want to offer to Marina are things I wish that I'd known about growing up. And as a young woman going through school and into my professional career and becoming then a wife and a mom, and I wish I'd had these things. Now, when I say I wish, I wouldn't be the person I am if I'd had them. It'd be a different story. So clearly, my experiences have brought me to this place so that I have these lessons and these learnings to share and help others. And I realize, though, that women hopefully will be served by hearing also what I want to share with my daughter about what life is and is not, about how we can move through society in a peaceful way regardless of what our society and world is doing or is trying to tell us, regardless of some of these other limiting beliefs or generational baggage we may be picking up from our families. And it's just felt like it's ready to burst out of me to share this with other women because now with my awareness, I look and I'm like, okay, social media, right? It's so omnipresent in our lives. And I see this all the time, the things that women are sharing about, oh, I'm so stressed, or I'm so tired, or I don't know what to do, or, I got this hater that said these comments on my social media page. And I'm like, that's just like this tiniest little tip of the iceberg. And my heart goes out to all of these women that I see and everyone in the world really who is carrying this stuff, and they don't know that there's a better way, that they don't have to keep doing as they're doing. There's another path, and I want to
Yes.
talk about that. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. And it goes back to our parents. They
Hmm.
were doing the best that they could
Yes.
do with what
Hmm.
they knew and they understood. And, at some point we wake up and we realize a better way, but that's because of our journey
That's
and our path that we're like, hey, wait a minute, this can be different. And we get to be the generational trauma breakers or the
right.
generational pattern breakers or whatever you choose to call it. So
Hmm.
what what is your program? Because it's going to be launching right around the time that this episode comes out. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah, so I personally, I don't know what everybody else is gonna think, and you know what? It doesn't matter because I'm not in it to please people. But I love the name. The name just came to me. It was definitely a gifted awareness, and it was the Modern Goddess's Guide to Thriving in Humanity.
I love it.
And to me, it's just in a nutshell of what we're goddesses. We are beautiful. We are unique and special and radiant women. And we're just infinite beings. And we're here having this life on this planet, but we're a goddess. We are so wonderful and special. And enough with trying to play that down. And at least this is my personal experience. And people can call it whatever they want, and that's just fine. But we're these modern goddesses, these beautiful souls in this world of humanity. And it's our time to thrive. It's not surviving. Surviving does not cut it anymore. Mediocrity does not cut it anymore. Let's throw off these chains. And it's this guide that is taking women through a story, a narrative of learning to love themselves and accept themselves, of learning to discern and develop a roadmap for their journey through this life, to deepen their connection with their soul and their higher self and the universe and other wonderful connections, so that they open themselves up to this new path and awareness that there is so much more than just what's right sitting in front of them. And the way I kind of coined it was, it's like a love letter. That's how I've looked at it. When I was first looking at this, it's a love letter from me to my daughter, Marina, you know, because what is one of the most beautiful things we can share to those we love is a way for them to navigate and love themselves and end their suffering. How more loving can we be, right? And so I look at this and it's a love letter from all of our higher selves then to women, this beautiful message. And I'm so thrilled about it, Penny. I'm so thrilled about it. And I'm just really looking forward to bringing it into the light.
As someone whose sole mission is to help people remember who they are
Yeah.
and to really remember what it is to unconditionally love themselves,
Yeah.
um, and not have that judgment, my face might feel a little wet.
Yeah.
Because it resonates
Yeah.
so deeply. It
Mm.
resonates, and, our emotions are powerful. They're a compass to help us to get onto our path. And before we wrap this up, and I'm going to leave it with you letting everyone know where to find you on social media. We will have a link to the wait list
Oh, thank you.
for your program in the show notes. But Teal mentioned just a bit back about where she was with her depression and her feelings and the big S word.
Mhm,
And if you have listened to my podcast for any length of time, you know that I've shared on a couple occasions my um, my moment where I went from having it all together because I had the
mhm,
pressure cooker lid on the emotions. I went from having it all together to suicidal in a matter of like 2.5 hours. If you're feeling
mhm.
those feelings, if you are feeling those thoughts,
Yeah.
please reach out to the National Suicide Hotline. We are
Yes.
going to have that number
Mhm.
in the show notes for you because Teal and I both
Yes.
are living proof that you can move out of it
Mhm.
and thrive beyond it. Is there
Yes.
anything you want to add to that, Teal?
Yes. And reach out to those who are close to you because the one of the important things that came home for me is how I am very important to this world, to those around me, and you are valuable, you are loved, you are perfect and beautiful just the way you are, just
Yep.
because you exist. So,
And people in your life would much rather be air fingers quote bothered because I know
yes.
sometimes when we're feeling down, we don't want to bother people, we don't want to pull people down, but the people who love us the most, if they truly knew how much pain we were in,
Yeah,
they would rather know and help us
absolutely.
than to not. So where are you on
Mhm.
social media, ma'am?
Yeah. So I am on Instagram and Facebook. It's just at Teal Shoop Coaching. And I think that's kind of the big hitters really. And then of course I have a website, which is tealshoopcoaching.com. And a lovely little newsletter, which is available too, which I like to pop in with my wit and wisdom every Monday. And but yeah, just oh, I guess, well, are you on Threads? I'm also on Threads, but that's
I,
this whole Instagram thing too.
I
But I don't know. I'm
yeah,
the jury's out on that one still. But
yeah,
yeah, so the main ones. Yeah, I just started a YouTube channel too. And
yes.
sorry, folks, I don't remember what the jargon is for the name. It gave me an interesting little code, and I don't know that's converted yet into like a Teal Shoop coaching thing. I mean, if you search it, you probably find it, but that's still got to figure itself out.
It's
But yeah,
always something fun. I'm sure if they get on your list at some point, it'll go out in your newsletter and they'll be able to get it. So it was
yeah,
a lovely conversation. Thank you for your honesty and your realness because that is just so needed right now. And if you enjoyed this episode, please do a screenshot, share it on Instagram, tag Teal, tag myself. This is just a journey that's so important. And as women, or if you're a husband and you have a woman in your life that you love, mother, sister, wife, and you would like to see other women thrive as well, we'd love for you to share it too. We're not going to be stingy
absolutely.
about
We're
it.
not stingy.
I really appreciated having you join me today for this episode of Penny on Your Thoughts. I would really appreciate it if you would take a moment and head over to your favorite podcast platform and leave a positive review about the podcast. It helps me to reach more people to help them to enlighten, elevate, and expand their lives. Be sure to subscribe to the show if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you back here again next week.